Good evening and welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. At this time, we ask that any electronic devices or cell phones, please silence them. If you're here to speak on any particular application, we encourage you to do so, but we ask that you go to the podium and please state your name for the record. Okay? First up on the agenda tonight is minutes of July 29th, 2015.
Mary. Mr. Chair, I've read the minutes, and with the exception of a couple small corrections, I think they're in good order. One correction I wanted to ask others about, it's on page 5 in the discussion of the Phragmites project, and Mr. Powers is listed as talking about how long it took to get to the
That was
DEP.
Mr. Payne.
Yeah, Mr. Payne,
That was
okay.
Mr. Payne,
Yep.
there's a swap.
Okay, so there's that, and then there's one other small thing on page 9.
So that's your motion?
That's my motion to,
And I would second that.
Okay, so we got Mary and Betsy. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
Should we move? I mean, you.
Okay, next up is a request for continuance under a determination of applicability. Arthur Gilbert, 247 Edgewater Drive, West, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a second-story addition to an existing single-family house with no changes in the footprint or altercation on the ground. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until the next available hearing, which would be the 26th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So
26.
we got Maury on the motion and Courtney on the second to August 26th. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Okay, request to continue an enforcement issue. Thomas DeMello and Cynthia Feldman, 46 Jetty Lane, West Falmouth, Mass., for clearing, altering wetland resources and in buffer to resource area as defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR 10.00. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the property owner is requesting a continuance until September 2nd.
So moved.
second.
Okay, I've got Maury on the motion, Mary on the second.
Question?
Mr. Byrd, go ahead.
Yeah, the question is, what's the reason for continuing this?
Their daughter is being moved to college.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Okay, that was fine with us.
Can we visit?
No,
can we
that-
visit
that's
the
all right.
enforcement areas? Can we visit an enforcement? Can we visit an enforcement site?
I'm gonna talk to, Jen has to set it up.
When we open the hearing afterwards, yeah. I can double check with Pat and let her know and ask the question, but once we open the enforcement hearing, yes, you can visit.
Okay, thank you.
But you can also make a phone call to the
Yeah.
property owner and
Yeah,
ask,
you can
right?
stop by.
So,
We can send an email.
Okay,
to
I would
Mel
like
if
to,
you'd
since
like.
this is my neighborhood.
Okay, let me ask Mel to send an email to the property owner. Where's my pen there? Was that
Okay.
my pen?
so
There it
you all set, Court? You all
Yep.
set? Okay.
Yep.
So with motion on the table to continue to September 2nd, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Request for determination of applicability. It's getting me tonight. This is the lesser of the two applications. What you want to hear is a negative determination on a RDA. All right, first up is William Chen and Denise Jean Cloud of 115 Quonset Road, Falmouth, Mass. for permission to repair and maintain approximately 38 linear feet of mortared stone wall along Oyster Pond, replace vegetation, remove with native species. Jen?
Quonset?
Yeah,
Yes,
Chen.
Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the statement bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to give that to Mike, and I'll give the second to Mary. Questions?
I just had one question.
Mhm.
Is there a time frame for them to do the planting? It just says as soon as possible.
Would you like a time frame?
I think we should give them a time frame,
Sure.
because soon might not be soon enough.
Maria's working with them, so we could say by the end of October.
Yeah, that sounds good. That was all.
Okay, Mark? Any other from the board? Questions from the audience, comments? Okay, I will, since there's no questions, I'll take a motion. Or do we already have one?
We already voted.
I'm sorry.
Did we vote?
No.
We had a question for Quid. Okay, now I'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. That was, did you get that, Sue? All set, okay. Next up is Priscilla Wynn, 338 Edgewater Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove and dispose of the existing septic system, install a new Title V sewage system, and regrade and restore disturbed areas with loam and seed, or restore the patio and walkway. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the bylaw and a -3 under the state with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Mary? Betsy? Questions or comments from the board?
I only have one comment. I'm glad to see that Mr. Jack Landers Colley was able to save all the trees.
Thank you, Jack. I know he's here. There he is.
Comments from the public?
That's like an attaboy, Jack. Well, it takes a lot of effort to do that.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Donald Hoffer, corner of Mill Road and Surf Drive, map 47-02-017-002A, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a shower tower consisting of an 8x8 concrete slab with anchor bolts, 2 drains, an H20 dry well with filter cloth and crushed stone, piping, connection to town water, and associated excavating and grading. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed. I do have one question. Dawn? I see you. Can you talk there? Sorry, Dawn.
Don was hiding in the back. I didn't even see him.
It's, nice. Can they put a drywall there? Are you sure that the groundwater's not too high?
Well, we haven't had any problem before with the groundwater. The groundwater's pretty high there.
It is pretty high, okay. I don't think they're going to be able to put a drywall in there. It's okay if they're not able to. I just want to let you know that they may not be able to put one in there, and don't get any heartburn if they say it's going to be in water. Okay.
Who is they, the
The engineering,
And-
yeah. Engineering, or who's
Is
installing it
DPW
for you?
doing it for you?
Highway?
you're talking about the vendor, right? The installer, the
Who's
installer.
installing your drywall for you? Is it
Charlie
the
DeMello.
town?
Charlie DeMille.
Okay.
What's up the town?
Is this in the parking lot?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, because
Well,
groundwater
they'll
is
give
about
us a
1
call.
foot there.
Yeah, when they go to put that drywall.
Huh?
Because it's no use, it's not going to be,
No.
useful to have it just sitting in water if you have a high water table over there. So,
What usually happens, it's high water, it sits there, but and then the
yeah,
low tide, it
Comes
drains
in.
out.
okay.
So,
All right,
I just
thank
had,
Okay.
I just had one question.
Yes,
What, Dawn, before you leave?
Dawn.
Why isn't the DPW doing it? Usually they do all the shower towers.
I'm sorry,
Usually, I've only seen the town doing the shower towers. How come are we subbing this out?
Charlie, the DPW Water Department removes the towers every fall, installs them every spring, and they do the piping up to the tower itself. And then we've had a contractor do all of them. This is the last one.
Okay. So there's still oversight with the DPW and engineering and you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all?
You're all set, Tom, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Do we need a motion?
Oh, that's right, we do.
Do we need a motion?
Yes,
I'll
we
make a
need
motion.
We need a motion, Betsy. Everybody jumped in questions. All
Has she
right,
read her recommendation yet?
Jen, are you good with that?
Did you read a recommendation?
Yeah, -2.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Rowdy bunch there.
Yeah. Questions from the public, comments? Hearing none. A call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Next up is Seacoast Shores Association, Inc., right-of-ways, ROWs, along east side of Edgewater Drive East, map number 41-02-000-00F, ROW 16E, and map number 41-02-000-000K.
I don't have it.
Is that a fan?
It's okay. Snap yourself up.
Okay, so it's Road 18E and west end of Edgewater Drive West, map number 41-02-000-000F, Road 23W, East Falmouth, Mass. Permission to install 2 dinghy racks at ROW 16E and 18E, and 3 dinghy racks at ROW 23W. All racks approximately 7 foot by 16 feet, freestanding with no footings dug. Jen?
This is a test.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area, boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Comments, questions or comments?
Sorry, I'm not familiar with the language, qualifying question. I'm not sure what the
You're
recommendation.
going to come up to the podium, sir, and just give your name.
Yeah, okay, I just, I'm not familiar with the name set here, so I'm new to this, this is in particular. But my name is Philip Maher, M-A-H-E-R, and I'm here with my wife Priscilla. We are here for a different matter, but I just want to know when they talk about recommendations, what does it mean when they say negative versus, say, positive? And I want to hear is, what's that mean? Just qualifying
A
question.
negative, in other words, you could proceed with the project.
Okay,
A
You wanna hear
positive,
negative.
yeah, you want to hear a negative.
okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah. A positive kind of sends it to another level, so.
That's just fine.
Circle gets a square.
One of the few times conservation says no and they mean yes.
Any other comments or questions? All right, I'll call for the vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Next up is Arthur Gilbert, 247, oh, we've continued this one, right? Till
August
August
26th.
That's why we don't have a report on it.
August 26th.
August 26th, okay, we'll skip over that one. Next up is Oyster Pond Environmental Trust, 26, 35, and 36 Secundit Road. Secundit Road, map 48-13A-020-057. Surf Drive, map 50-07-016-000, map 50-07-015-000D. Map,
You're almost through.
I know, map 50-07-010-000, map 50-05-18-00, B 150, Oyster Pond Road, map 50-05-000-001C, map number 50-05-000-011, for permission to control and manage invasive plant species along south shore of Oyster Pond. Jen?
Wow. We're recommending -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
They're doing really good invasive control work. out
Betsy
there.
and Mary on the motion, and Mike has a question?
This is,
Not weed and bittersweet.
okay, and it's a chemical application? And have a butters been notified?
This is Oyster Pond Environmental Trust, so this is all their.
It's all on their own property?
Yeah, it's on their property.
Okay.
But I'll let Wendy know to notify the abutters.
Yeah,
Or
it's
put
just,
signage up.
you're using chemicals and
Yep.
some neighbors.
I think it would be helpful if they'd put a sign up, you know, we're going to be spraying on this day, just so people could make a
Yeah.
choice not to be near
Yeah.
there or whatever.
Yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
people
Yeah,
walk.
Exactly.
Walking the dog.
I think it's a good thing, but
Yeah, just, and then I had another question, Mike.
It's fine.
Whatever happened, and maybe we can have a discussion with Mr. Payne on the loose strife and the beetle that was let loose there, and whatever happened, because I've never heard any follow-up on that.
Okay.
Okay.
I can, this isn't Mr. Payne's project, but I
No, no,
can
just,
actually-
it just made me think of
Dr. Payne's
loose
project.
strife.
Yeah, no. Jurassic Beetles, I remember.
Yes, the Jurassic beetles.
Yeah.
We never know what
Well,
happened to
one
them.
of the places I know where they were released, there's lots of loose strife now.
Yeah, so I'm wondering what they're eating, because they didn't, not,
Or if they're still there. They
Yeah,
might
who
not
knows?
still be
Okay.
there.
different
Yeah, we'll
subject,
get a
but
hold, I'll
thank
get a
you.
hold of Dr. Payne and see if he can give us a brief follow-up or whatever happened with that one.
Thank
I know he did submit some reports. There was a series of reports that was submitted by Dr. Payne. I believe Wendy was involved in that project as well.
That's what made me think of it, yeah.
And they did submit some follow-up monitoring reports regarding the loose life. I can see if I can,
I mostly want to know what happened to the beetle that was non-native, that is now running around out there, and what it's doing.
I can give you monitoring reports on
Okay.
how the beetle controlled the loose strife and
Okay.
whatever happened to all the beetles. I
Have no
do
clue.
not
If
know.
their preferred thing is to eat loose strife, they're dead, because there's lots of loose strife.
Okay, there you go.
Any Courtney?
No, I'm all set.
You good? Okay, any other questions from the board? Questions or comments from the audience, from the public? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Next up, continue request for determination of applicability. Steve Cameron, 176 Walkpoint Highway, Walkpoint, Mass. For permission to prune trees throughout the property, remove dead trees, dying trees, and small brushes. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a negative under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
second.
Courtney and Laurie made a motion.
I just have
Betsy?
a question,
You
or
got it.
actually a comment.
You got it.
And my comment is, I mean, we all realize this, but if you look at this report and you understand, these sound pretty simple. You read what it is and we get a recommendation from the town, from the staff. But a lot of these require a lot of back and forth before we get to the point where there's a recommendation. So I just want to note that we appreciate the staff's work on these.
Absolutely. No problem. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none. Questions or comments from the public? Hearing none. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Okay, next up is request for hearings on a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. So first up, we have Ian and Kathy McDonald, 11 Snug Harbor Lane, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to renovate the existing dwelling, which includes removing the existing porch and balcony, construct a covered patio, stone steps, relocate shower, removal of the existing landscaped pond, remove ornamental plantings, install native mitigation plantings, dry well, utilities, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll sit any comments or questions until after Raul's presentation.
Good evening, Raul. Just-
Excuse me, can I make a comment to something or the other?
Sure, absolutely.
Wendy, are you here for the RDA?
Yeah.
It's already been approved.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you, but
Thank you, Will.
we're very, Russ is
We're very
efficient.
efficient.
We just move right through.
Yeah,
That's-
right.
Okay, all right, well, thanks very much.
You're welcome to stay with.
Okay.
For the record, Raul Lizardi, engineers for the applicant. The project before us is redevelopment of the site. The resources on or within 100 feet of the proposed work is a coastal bank and land subject to coastal storm flowage. The coastal bank is right here in this corner of the property. The land subject to coastal storm flowage is also the same, in the same area. Two different lines shown here. One is the coastal bank, one is the land subject to coastal storm flowage, which also happens to be a velocity zone. The proposed work is on the back of the existing house. There's a covered exit or porch. It's going to be removed, and a larger enclosed patio is going to be built. On the north side of the house, there's an existing shower that's going to be removed, and one of the same size is going to be rebuilt, slightly shifted 6 feet to the west. And over on the south side of the house, there's going to be a proposed step coming out of the house. To mitigate for the increases in impervious areas, we're removing, part of the removal is the existing covered exit on the back, and also a lined koi pond that's on the back of the property. For mitigation, the equivalent of the mitigation planting is going to be proposed in this general area, which covers the entire coastal bank on the property. So the entire coastal bank will be planted on this property. There's an existing retaining wall all along this side of the property. It's about retaining 3.5 to 4 feet of material behind it on our property. The neighbor's property is actually lower than ours. So that coastal bank is going to be completely vegetated. There's ornamentals that are going to be removed and replaced with indigenous plantings. On the north side of the property, there's an existing dead tree. We're proposing to remove it. That dead tree is going to be replaced with a new cedar tree. There's also a second cedar tree proposed in this location as part of the mitigation plantings. The proposed shower is going to be, the runoff is going to be directed to a dry well. Currently, the existing shower doesn't have a dry well. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Right. Jen?
Well, I'm sorry if I missed it. What are your renovations to the dwelling going to be?
Well, the interior of the dwelling is going to be
Okay.
renovated.
It's
So there's going
interior?
to be some changes inside the house. There's going to be a new exit here. That's why that landing there.
There's steps there, okay.
On this back, there's an existing covered exit, sort of like a porch, smaller than what we're proposing.
Yep.
That's going to be completely removed, and this new covered patio is going to be built.
Okay, but most of your renovations are interior?
Yes.
Okay, fine. The only other comment I have, it's not so much of a question. There was some discussion about reconfiguring the driveway and the narrative that I talked to Holmes and Groth today, and that's obviously a carryover from an old, not reconfiguring the driveway. There's no bordering vegetated wetland on the parcel, so we don't need the data sheets. The only other comment I have is the board's going to have to determine whether or not you accept the removal of the koi pond as existing impervious surface. Raul, do you know how long that pond was there and what its surface was before they put it?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. And that's it.
It has to be an impervious surface if it holds water.
I'm just saying, just making a comment.
Jamie?
Excuse me, two questions. You're going to control the roof runoff on the new proposed porch with,
It's not currently shown, but what we can do is do a dual purpose of the proposed drywall and connect the roof runoff for this addition to that drywall. The remaining of the house currently has drywells. All the downspouts do go to drywells. This being an addition, I don't know if they'll reconnect it to those existing drywells, but we can agree to a condition that should that not be the case, we can dual purpose, the proposed drywall here.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't go into that one. Share it with the, kind of a comment. Access looks a little limited. We make provisions to protect everything out front. It looks like your only access is from that north side.
The only possible access is to this side, given the existing development on the south side.
And the,
You good, Jamie?
yes, sir.
Mary?
I don't really have any questions other than the pond question. You know, what was there?
The koi pond?
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been there.
Presumably it was impervious, right?
Well, we know that the pond that's there is lined with a rubber liner. So that does make it impervious. It does hold water. But what was there before, I don't know how long this pond has been in this facility.
And that area is just going to be lawn, filled in and lawn
Yes.
put on it? Okay, that's all, thanks.
Betsy?
I want to ask Jen, do we have a prior record of this? I mean, was this pond legally put in?
I can't answer that.
Or the
I do not
garden
know.
that's there on the top of the coastal bank.
I would like
I mean, the whole,
Raul to,
the whole A zone is developed, so technically.
I don't know, it could have been there for years. That's the best thing we could do is go back to the aerials and find out if we can see it. We can do that.
well, I mean, I don't, if in fact it's illegal, if it's legally there, a legal impervious surface in the buffer zone, then I don't mind it as a trade. If it is not a legal impervious surface, then Raul can explain to his clients that they have to offer us a larger mitigation.
Well, in order for it to be legal, it would have to have been constructed prior to 72.
Right. No, I know that.
Okay.
So my question to you, Raul, was this a legally installed pond?
I don't have an answer. I don't really know.
Okay, well, I would like to know that before I'm comfortable voting on this.
Okay.
And my only other comment is, if you do, Jamie, your question, if you do have to do access on the north side there, then just something in the special conditions that anything that's disturbed, any buffer that's disturbed in the course of construction be
Probably
reestablished.
Protected too?
Protect, well, I
Yeah,
don't
we have a
know.
limit of work right along there.
Well, that's kind of tight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind
So
of
very, very
tight.
tight.
Yeah, it's only 16
On
feet.
the other hand, it's not a massive project.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
There is a portion that we show the limit of work going beyond the lawn. Will be agreeable to a condition that this edge of lawn will not extend to that limit of work. So that portion that we're calling out to be part within the construction access will not become lawn.
Oh, you're not saying that that's all vegetated. You're just saying that that's outside the limit of work.
Outside the lawn.
This is the lawn.
This.
And this is the limit of work. So there's an area here that's not lawn
Yeah.
that we needed to access the backyard.
Brush that maybe.
Oh, all right.
That sounds
Well,
good.
just that anything that's disturbed be replanted, is my point.
You good, Betsy?
Well, I'm not entirely good because I don't
I
know
know.
about the history of this koi pond, but
Any
other than
other
that, I'm good.
questions?
No question.
Mike?
The proposal is to remove the pond, is that correct? Which would decrease impervious area.
Which would also decrease the amount of mitigation planning they have to provide.
Right, because it
So
is,
you're happy with what you're proposing?
yeah, because the pond
If they're
is
happy
being
for
used.
more, I don't need more information than to do more than what we're asking for, that's for sure.
What he's saying is, they have, let's say, 100 feet of a new building.
Okay?
But this pond is 50 square feet.
Okay.
So we only have to mitigate for 50 square feet.
Ah,
And I'm
okay.
saying if the pond is
All right.
not legal, they should mitigate for 100 square feet.
Thank you
That's
for
my
bringing me up to
point.
speed.
Yeah.
I see the,
If Raul would like to just offer that mitigation right now, then we could just kind of move on. And then they could just
Well, let's
remove
finish with the questions
we can
first.
remove the pond also.
Let's finish with the questions first.
okay,
You good, Mike?
I'm good. The oak tree by the stairs is just the right height for a man who's 5'9" to walk on. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank goodness.
It's just perfect.
Maury?
I only had one question, and that is the limit of work. It doesn't seem like it's a very large project. I mean, I don't know what the footings and all that, I'm sure that'll have to be dealt with as far as getting access. But we all know that the limit of work means you can use all that area. And the limit of work literally is the entire front, backyard. And for planting, I don't think they need, maybe we could have 2 limits of work. One for the planting, and when they get the planting done, maybe the plantings could be done before construction. I think would be wise in this particular case, because they'll have the water, it's the right time of year. Then they can get the plantings all in, and then pull that limit of work up closer to the house, so it doesn't become the staging area on a coastal bank and in the A buffer. I know it's only lawn, but it's still, it's a lot of latitude for destruction out there.
Something that I would say to that, I mean, we are proposing it along the edge of lawn currently. But I've seen in the past when limits of work are pulled back, the lawn is not maintained and it overgrows on the other side of the limit of work. And if the construction site takes a year, that overgrowth on the other side becomes pretty large.
Oh, it could be maintained, it just can't be used for construction access. And believe me, I know one on Old Dock in Nashawina right now, and they mow on the other side of the construction site all the time because it's always been there. You can't prevent them from maintaining that area. It's just, I don't want to see the excavator and the bobcats and the piles of dirt down by where the koi pond is and all down that way. It's just, it's not a steep grade, but it definitely has a pitch to it. So we are going from elevation 23 where the porch is proposed down to 18. So it's got a slope there. So I would prefer, instead of it all running down to get to the edge of the vegetation, that it gets held up. So and we can deliberate that in discussion. I'm just concerned about that. And I'm not saying you can't mow the lawn on the other side of the limit of work.
You just don't want the construction.
I just don't want
material
the construction material and everything else out there. And if they love their lawn, they're going to be happy that I recommended that.
You good, Maury?
I'm good.
Court?
No questions.
All right. Anything else from the board? What's your pleasure on this?
Well, Ron will have to research the court pond.
I will be asking for continuance,
Okay.
given that there's a couple of main questions that need to
And
be
the drive.
addressed.
I think through the drive all too, Raul.
Yeah,
The
probably
driveway, I
knock
can-
it
I
up
can
on the
show it on the
plan.
plans.
We have a plan showing that.
Raul, the next available one I can give you is the second, 26 is just 2.
Okay, I make a motion on the request of the applicant to continue this to, what month is next month?
September.
September 2nd.
Second.
So we have a motion by Betsy and a second by Mike to continue to September 2nd. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Continue to September 2nd.
Are we going to see you more often?
Who seconded
Good.
that?
Okay,
Mike,
next
did you
up.
second it?
Yes,
Mike.
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mike and Betsy, sorry about that, Susan.
Maybe not Raul.
All right, next up is Jacqueline Holmes, 41 Cove Street, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install approximately 160 linear feet of core fiber rolls consisting of 20-foot rolls, 5 rolls along the shorefront area to maintain pruning in the existing 50-foot wide Vista pruning corridor and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
I said any of my comments until after Jack's presentation.
Good evening, Jack. That's
I take all donations up here, but I'll share it with the whole board. This is okay with me if Jen isn't.
It's a copy of the
It's a copy of the green cards. He doesn't know where the green
Just by
cards
way of
are.
explanation, we have 4 butters. The Postal Service by regulation has to hold certified mail for 2 weeks, and that's dated July 28th. So it's highly possible that you're sitting in the postal office and having this picked up. Anyways, for the record, my name is Jack Landers-Colley. I'm a civil engineer in private practice. I work in West Falmouth. And I've been retained by the Holmes family, that is Holmes family, to present the plan that's before you
Jack,
this
could you
evening.
just kind of lift, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Certainly. Can you hear me any better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
With me is Jacqueline's son. If there are some questions I can answer, that is, I'm sure he would be happy to answer them. I think I need to start by going back 7 years. This project was presented to you 7 years ago. It was a 2-part project, a shore stabilization and a proposal to have 2 Vista windows. The application we have before you this evening is identical. The reason we're here is obviously the other order of conditions expired. And in addition to that, the fiber roll has dilapidated. In fact, I have some pictures that I can show you if there's someone who's not familiar with the site. That will show you the condition. So what we're proposing is simply to do what's been approved in the past. Now, in addition to the proposal to have the pollarding approved in these 2 areas and the fiber roll stabilization, we also have in the notice of intent application letters going back to 2007 and 2008 giving us permission by the Board of Selectmen to do this work because there was some question as to the ownership of the area west of the property. I just wanted to document that, in fact, we do have that right. What it is we propose to do is rebuild this roll, this fiber roll. We intend to utilize the driveway, come around, remove the native plants in this area, and use this area as the construction access, which also happens to coincide with the steps. We intend to remove these steps and rebuild them at the end of the project. The shoreline stabilization goes from, well, what's outlined in yellow. It's 160 feet. In the prior application, we proposed about 110 feet, but we found additional erosion over in this area that necessitated making it longer. I also took the liberty to propose making it just a bit longer. If at time of construction we thought it should be here, we would then have the permit to do so. But it clearly needs about 140 feet plus of stabilization. The staging area in the construction storage area is proposed to be up in here.
All this work will be done either by the use of a small Kubota machine, and I'm sure Courtney, if you don't know what it is, I'm sure Courtney knows, and perhaps others. But it's a machine that's small enough so it could follow the footpath. If you were to go down there now, we actually, and all these trees have been located, these circles. This particular tree, this oak, because of the pollarding, has some branches extending almost horizontally, so we're asking that those be cut in order to get the machine down there. And the machine's going to be necessary because some of this will have to be backfilled. So the intent is to remove the existing fiber roll, replace it with new fiber roll, backfill behind it, and then plant it where we can. And in fact, we do show existing biolog here, but based on the conversation by the contractor who originally built this, who's intended to build this again, he prefers to remove it and just use new biologs. I thought it might be more intrusive if we took them out, but he's of a different opinion. These biologs lasted pretty much intact for about 6 years. We judge a project success if it lasts at least 5 years. Ideally, we'd like it to last longer because it is a very expensive proposition to rebuild them or to build them. We've proposed a slightly larger biolog system now because I think the other one was overwashed, and I think we lost some of the soil behind it during the moon tides and the storm tides. In fact, some of those pictures will show you a rack line. The entire fiber roll is above the normal high water. It is, though, within the storm tide water or the moon tide with the southwestern wind. And that's where all the problems really reside. When you get a southwesterly or a westerly wind at a moon tide with a big blow, you get chop here. To give you an idea of what the relief is, we actually didn't show the contours, but based on another application I submitted about a month ago, we showed spot grades all over the place. If I showed contours, this plan would be even harder to read. And I get a little cross-eyed reading it myself. But we have an elevation 1.3 here, 3.8 at the top, 1.0, 4.2, which I think is the worst case. The area we're talking about stabilizing varies anywhere from 2 to maybe 3.5 feet at the worst case. I think if you could turn the clock back far enough, you would have found that this was all an extensive salt marsh. There's salt marsh down here, and if you go further north, there's salt marsh up there. Why it retreated, I'm really not certain. I suspect man's activities in the pond. I suspect that people walking the beach, maybe shell fishing, boats coming ashore, boats coming close to the beach, causing some turbulence in the water. And the net result is the salt marsh retreated and disappeared in this area. That's what I believe happened. Hence this problem, because if you go to the south and the southeast, you see it's stable, but there's a salt marsh there that protects it. And that might even be a little more dynamic environment because they have a little more due south exposure. So what we're proposing, first of all, I believe is allowed. I read your regulations that's silent on the use of this type of treatment. It's very specific about the use of jetties and groins, which we would never think of proposing or using. And we think it's a project that can be approved again so the Holmes family can stabilize the area. The second part is the 2 windows, vista windows. We're proposing to do precisely what was permitted back in 2007, 8, and 9, and then was continued with an extension in, I think, 2010 and 11. What they do is they actually pollard these trees. They actually have a staff gauge that was made up by the Holmes family. They have a certified arborist cut the trees. They use the staff gauge, which allows them a certain specific height to cut it down to. Mr. Holmes actually has a picture that shows you the difference between the area that's pollarded and not, and if you'd like to look at it, he has it on his tablet. We'd be happy to show it to you. The staff gauge, if I remember correctly, is 11 feet or 12 feet high. So what they do is they basically go through here and they put the staff gauge in, and any sucker growth that's above the 12 feet, they were permitted to cut. If you go out there, and I'm sure Maury's been out there, the understory is extremely dense. The sucker growth on the trees is very vibrant. We submitted the original letter from the arborist that did the work. Unfortunately, he passed away. We contacted the company. Their company is going to continue the work, and their new certified arborist will be the one supervising the project. That's the project that's before you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Jen?
No questions, only a couple of comments. Jack, the more I think about it, the more you probably should just run it by the sitting Board of Selectmen. I don't know how long their approvals last for, if there's a time frame on that. I know you got one back in 2008. You may just want to contact the town manager's office, let them know that you got approval for this in 2008, and do you need to go back and get additional approval. I understand it's the opinion of the Holmes family and their attorney, but they may not share it, the town manager's office may not share that opinion. So just do that.
I can certainly check with them.
Yeah, check
I
with
think
them.
the problem there is none of the sitting selectmen nor town manager were in place when this was approved.
That's not a problem, that's just, it happened, so I would contact them back. I mean, you can't expect.
I will ask that question.
Okay? I mean, I know they gave approval back in 2008, but.
I may defer that to their attorney. That's a little bit out of my realm, the actual whether or not there's a time issue with the letter that was issued or not. But anyways, we'll address it. That's the important. Any other questions?
And my only
comments?
comment is, you know how I feel about the lighting of trees, Jack, and I'm just going on the record saying I don't agree with the practice. But you know that.
Yes,
And
I do.
think
I do know
made
that.
exact statement back
I do
in
know that.
2008, so that's a new surprise. Other than that, the shoreline stabilization project needs to be done. It was done very well the last time. It did last, and solutions like these do need to be maintained and sometimes replaced, so I have no problem with that part
Thank you.
of your project. That's it.
Courtney?
No questions.
Maury?
I just had a couple, Jack. I'm looking at is the dark line the property line?
Yeah, this is the property line.
So who owns that property that you're putting the biologs on?
If you look in your literature,
It's the town of Falmouth?
it is actually, there's an opinion by the attorney
I
that
read
they
that.
own at least halfway across this. This used to
Yep.
be a 40-foot way.
Yep.
So they, without question, they have ownership of the first 20 feet.
Our assessor's office shows it as the town of Falmouth's property, which is why I believe you went to the Board of Selectmen back in 2008.
Well, some of it clearly is the town of Falmouth.
Yeah.
Some of the plotting over there is clearly the
Yeah.
town of Falmouth. In fact, I think part of the submission includes the statute that the attorney recited as to why he gave the opinion that they own at least to the middle of the right-of-way. And the middle of the right-of-way would be 20 feet, or in this case, 2 inches. So if you offset this line 2 inches, that would be their right of ownership. And then there's, over here, it's a little more than that 2 inches, and that's why we had to go to the town of Falmouth for that permission.
And
And I realize that's a legal opinion, but that's why I gave you those
Well, that's
enclosures.
their attorney's legal
Yeah.
opinion, and I think that probably the town council would either concur, because they've already given permission once, so I'm not that concerned about it, but I do think it needs to go through the process again. And one of the reasons that I obviously wasn't, maybe I voted this, I doubt I voted for this, but two 50-foot windows, vista windows, with pollarding trees. And an arborist will tell you that bleaching and pollarding of large deciduous oaks and things like that is not a healthy thing to do, because that's exactly what it does, is it increases sucker growth. Sucker growth is not healthy growth. It's bushy and nice, but down here, but it's not a healthy form of a tree. A tree is not meant to be pollarded, and they're not meant to be pleached, which is side cutting, pollarding is top cutting. They make hedges, that's what they call them. So, and I'm with Jen on that, but if it's been approved before by the town on the town's property, so be it. I looked at the abutters list, and it was a little atrophic. I mean, I really couldn't even make out much of it in my folder. I didn't even know it was the town's property until a little teeny thing down here. But I think when you submit, Jack, it would be nice if it was a lot clearer.
Okay.
And we also don't have anything, any of these abutting properties, you don't have anything that,
I can point of clarification. There
Yeah.
were 7 abutters, of which 4 were the town of Falmouth.
yeah.
So
But
we
you don't
gave-
even have town of Falmouth out here on the beach as a
Excuse me?
property owner. That little piece where the water is, where you own 50% and they own 50%.
Right.
It doesn't even say town of Falmouth on that.
Well, that's
does
all
it?
underwater, I think, is what it is. Part of
Okay.
it is the fact that this area's changed. Part of it is the fact in 1920s and 30s, people subdivided marsh. And if you were to look at some of the assessors maps, you'll see entire lots that are basically
Yes.
shown that is a salt marsh.
Salt marsh, yes.
And at one time, we could fill salt marshes.
Yep.
I don't want to go that direction, but that's where it came from. So 7 abutters, 4 with the town of Falmouth. We notified 4 people, the 3 individuals plus the town of Falmouth, hence the 4 people.
And the town of Falmouth did respond.
We went to the selectman's office, we probably looked at it and said, okay, we got it. It's going to the commission, they know what they're
Okay.
doing. We don't have to say anything more.
Okay, so again, I'm going to go right back, that we have the selectmen look at this again. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No questions, no comments.
Betsy?
I have to say, first of all, I want to say that I hate pollarding. But I remember when this project came before, but it would have been nice if we had the history of this, because as I remember when it came in 2008, this was a practice that had been allowed previously, and that's why it was permitted. But the other thing is, if I look at where your property line is, where you want to put, I don't have a problem with the biolog part, and actually it's nice to see a biolog that worked as well as it did there. But since you brought it up, I'll also take advantage of saying, isn't it too bad that there wasn't still a marsh there? And
Oh,
then
yeah.
you wouldn't have to go to all
Absolutely.
this expense.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
But in this material that you gave us, there's a letter from the town of Falmouth that says, at its meeting of November 3rd, 2008, Board of Selectmen voted to approve your request for a vista pruning permit. But it looks to me like there's a lot of area here where you want these biologs that's on town of Falmouth land. And so I would say you need permission from the Board of Selectmen for both of those. The vista pruning permit that was permitted in 2008 is not the permit that would be issued now. This is a new permit.
Oh, I don't think it would have been issued perhaps back in 2008, but since it was a common practice, this board accepted that as being the standard for this property and approved it subject to that.
No, I'm
But-
saying, I think in order for this work to be done, we need to see letters from the Board of Selectmen, one approving vista pruning, and second, having these biologs be put on town of Falmouth land.
Okay, what I'm telling you is this portion is owned by the homes right in here. They own 20
That's the opinion of
feet.
your attorney, Jack.
Well, apparently,
I know, I'm just saying if you can interview your attorney, Jeff.
I don't think his opinion should have changed. That's why I included the
No, I
letters.
understand that,
And-
but, you know, we have seen this board has, I've worked with this board for 10 years, and I can assure you I've seen two attorneys arguing two different points on the same matter, so.
Isn't that the nature of attorney? Yeah.
So what I'm saying,
So-
Jack, is I'm strongly suggesting you contact the Board of Selectmen's office and ask them whether or not their decision back in '08 carries over to today. That's all I'm asking, okay? And they may say yes, and they may say no, but that's going to be the town of Falmouth, the Board of Selectmen's decision.
Oh,
Okay? I'm sorry.
I understand. I don't have a problem with the pollarding. I guess if you read the letter carefully, they never address the biologs because it was accepted that the homes had a matter of right to put those in since they own the property. It was the pollarding only that was of issue, and that was because of this right in here. We admit it. Mr. Holmes told the truth. This is not under his control. That's under the control of the town of Falmouth. So,
So I guess what it is, Jack, is if you take that southernmost property line, right?
right.
And you extend it straight out, keep going, keep
Yeah.
going, keep going, right? So, and that's all town Falmouth property, right? Because you have right down here that that's town Falmouth, so that back property line is that, right?
So,
If
So
I
look.
understand you correctly. That's what you're saying. is Project that line, come out 20
Yeah,
feet.
and all that is, and so everything south of that line is town of Falmouth, because that's what you have written down here, town of Falmouth, lot 168,
That's correct.
correct?
That's
If
correct.
you extend that out, look where your biologs are.
Okay, that's a good point.
That's what Beth's is saying.
Okay, our original proposal was for 110 feet, which brought it back here.
Yeah, so you are
I
extending it
will-
a bit?
I will,
Yeah, he wants to extend it
I'm
down
sorry,
there,
I
which
didn't
would be
use
on
that.
that limit.
Yeah, no, that's what Beth is saying, is you're extending it onto the town's property down there.
we will make the inquiry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what, I would never presume what the Board of Selectmen might vote, but I suspect they might not have a problem with this. But if it is town property, if you're doing work on town property, you need to get permission from the town.
I agree with that fully.
Okay.
I understand that.
You want to sit, Betsy?
Yeah, I'm set.
Mary?
I'll just make my own comment on the pollarding for the record.
So,
The trees look healthy, but they also look like they belong on some other continent. They're very odd looking trees, very odd. Down on the shoreline project, the biolog project, there's an oak tree that's nearly parallel to the ground and completely dead. I was just wondering if that is something that's going to be, is planned to be taken out or left in, or maybe just cut off.
I think there are 3 trees that are distressed. One of them's plain dead.
Yeah.
And I thought we showed them here. In fact, we show 6 stakes. We actually showed them on the plan just to aid you so you knew where you were on the ground. Stake A being here, B here, C. And in fact, this shows a 10-inch leaning oak right here. Maybe that's the one you're making reference to. I'm not an arborist. When they get the arborist, he will or she will make the decision whether or not it can be saved. If it can't be saved, I can tell you right now, it's going to be cut down. They don't want to lose the trees, but the shoreline retreat has been enough to cause them to lean towards the water. And there's a lot of root damage because it was exposed. I doubt,
Well,
again, I'm not an arborist, but it seems to me those trees won't survive.
Right.
Those
and
3
that-
trees.
That one that is, I would say clearly dead, it seems to me probably ought to be cut off if not pulled out, because it's just going to pull in that direction.
Right. I'm not sure pull-out is what you want to do. You
No,
probably
I
wanna-
don't
You
think
probably
so.
want to cut it flush to the
Right,
ground.
right. And my only other comment is, and apparently, I wasn't aware of this at the time, but it's apparently on the town property, but at the end of the current biolog, the south end,
Right.
current biolog installation, there is an old TV set discarded there. Pre-flat screen kind of TV set. So.
I can make this
It
statement. I can
probably-
make this statement.
Make that part of the project if you can.
I'm making the assumption it's going to get approved eventually. I'm also going to tell you that I'm sure the owner of the property has no problem picking up debris. Okay, so.
Thank you.
Okay, so whether it be the TV set or other trash that I saw out there, it will be picked up.
Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
all for me, thank you.
Tidy up then?
Yes.
Sure, Lon.
Jamie?
No questions.
I doubt the TV set came across in a storm.
No, but the odd thing is, there was
You know,
no
if it's a
other
vacuum
litter
tube,
but
it
this
probably
big
flowed.
TV.
When you think about it, eh?
Maybe it came in a storm.
Fell off a boat, maybe.
That must be it.
Jack, you want to continue to the second while you inquire on the Board of Selectmen?
Yes, to that-
And revise
to
the
that
plan
question.
possibly to remove the biologs from town property or get permission from the Board of Selectmen?
I'm going to, the full answer is, I'm going to tell my client. The client will in turn probably contact their attorney, and their attorney will talk to the town attorney. And what happens there, you and I
That's
will know
all
at
I
the same
ask.
time. Okay.
All I
So
ask.
we could get a letter to that effect, that, you
Yeah,
know,
so
discussion was
we-
between
No,
two
just,
parties, and that would solve that?
Well, no, it depends on what that discussion entails.
That's what I
So,
mean,
yeah.
but I mean from Frank or,
Yeah,
so.
they
in fact,
can
Frank
go
was
through
the sitting
channel.
attorney at the time, so his recollection
Jack, it
hopefully will
wouldn't
come
be till-
quickly and easily.
The next available hearing, continued hearing wouldn't be until the second anyway, so you have a few weeks.
September
And
2nd.
I'll probably need all of it, too.
Is that what you would like?
Yeah, September 2nd would be
You want to
good.
start, you want to
Can-
choose that date and just let me
Okay,
know?
at the request of the applicant, I make a motion.
Courtney has something to say.
Yeah, I just had a
All
question.
right, we'll get a second on the motion, and then we'll go back to
I'll make a
questions.
second.
So we get,
A motion to continue to September 2nd.
And I second.
Maury seconded.
you got that, Susan? Good? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Lori?
Yeah, through the-
Brother?
Yes,
Jack.
I just,
Oh.
I'm sorry,
Courtney, it's on.
This, the biolog doesn't impede any public access, does it?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
In fact,
that's all.
some of the
Thank you.
pictures will show you that it
Yes,
doesn't
I just
even...
want to make
pretty
sure,
clear on it.
for the
It's
record.
For the record, the entire biolog is above mean high water.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Courtney?
Since you're continuing it, could you put some contour lines on the map and some elevations?
The elevations are there. I will give you a plan with the contours on it.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay.
How about a small plan with the contours without the trees? And we can have both plans.
You won't be able to read it.
I can do that, yeah. Okay. So, that's 18.
Harder for him, but anyway.
No, it's not hard for him.
Any
He
other
just
questions
click
from the
off.
board? Any other questions from the board?
I had another question,
Okay, Betsy,
but
got it.
I can't remember it now. Oh, I know what the question is. The question is, the piece of equipment that you said Courtney would know, these other guys would know,
Kubota?
Small excavator?
and Maury would know, is that gonna have to go onto the sand
Yes.
Yes.
and beach?
This is,
So, I'm just,
Low tide?
yeah, low tide and
Vegetable oil.
whatever that special oil
Yeah,
is
the
that,
vegetable
Yeah.
oil and the
Okay.
usual standard.
just to remember to put that down.
just as a point of clarification, I think I said they have to take the stairs out.
Yeah,
They're
right.
going to build a ramp of sand that's the same grain size as the beach to make the trip down.
Yeah, I'm just
They will
worried
store it
about,
up.
I'm worried about the machine in the
Spilling
water at
hydraulic
times. And,
fluid.
and in the water,
Absolutely.
and the tide coming up on it.
Okay.
Because we all know that that happens sometimes. and-
It happens a lot,
Yeah,
I have pictures.
not in our town, but in some towns.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Could I have a point of clarification? Because
Yes, Jack.
I'm going to go to the Board of Selectmen, and I'm not sure I'm going to be in a position to discuss clarity with them, just the right to approve clearing as is approved by the Conservation Commission. Is that a fair statement?
I-
Because they're going to turn and say, someone will probably say, what's pollarding? And the second thing they'll say is,
Well, they have an
we'll leave it
expert
up to the
now.
Conservation Commission anyways.
I thought the idea of this was to find out if that existing order from 2008 carries through this particular project.
No, that's not the question. The question is, does the Board of Selectmen's decision from 2008 extend to this? Not the order of conditions.
No, I'm
It's a
sorry.
different, it's a
The
different
selectmen.
permit, though.
That's it.
That permission, in other
Yeah.
words, that's what this is all
Yeah,
about. So I mean, the
extends to-
pollarding really doesn't come into that.
No, that'll be our
It's-
decision to make, unless the Board of
Right.
Selectmen wants to weigh
Here
into
again.
that. That's completely up to them.
So their permission, that's what you're
I would assume they would
looking for,
defer that to us, but,
if that's still in place. So that permission,
Yeah.
if that's still in place.
I understand.
Right. So the plotting and all that's,
How we get it done is between the client and you.
Unless the Board of,
And we get
Select-
it done is between the.
unless the Board of Selectmen, sometimes the
That's
Board
it.
of Selectmen wants details.
yeah, and that is up to them.
right.
That's fair enough.
But if they say, no, the permission is whatever, it's good for 20 years or whatever, you know.
And the last point of clarification, we were talking, the pollarding approval we got from the Board of Selectmen was for this area. It excluded this, because this is under the ownership of the home.
Well,
Makes
that's
sense.
not, the letter gives you permission. It doesn't specify this one or that one.
Okay.
But it
Yeah,
uses
but we-
their
It's related to
address.
the town
We
property.
did give them this plan, because
Yeah.
when they asked, they said, what exactly, where are the areas? We said, it is this area that we are seeking permission from you to build. Thank you.
Thank you.
That explains why they got two windows. There's two pieces of
Right, so
Yeah, so those
the board's all set with questions and comments, right? Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote to
Continue
continue
until,
to September 2nd.
Second.
So we have a motion, we have a second already. So I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
I think Mike's ready to move on to the next.
Okay, up next is a continued request for a hearing under notice of intent. Ken Montori, I hope I said that, 28 Pine Bark Road, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise RAZE, the existing dwelling, and construct a 5-bedroom, single-family house with decks, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, water service, utilities, landscape wall, dry wells, gravel driveway, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen.
So this might submitted a new plan, I know it's submitted a new plan.
Yeah.
First floor elevation added, the dune area revised from covering higher lot. Detail on the, how the existing septic would be abandoned, and what was the last one?
AC compressors.
They're underneath the deck.
Yep.
Oh, and to clarify the elevations that Maury was talking about over the septic the last time.
And the first floor.
And the
Do we
first
have
floor
all those?
elevation.
I guess.
Mike might qualify for an attaboy tonight.
Mike, good evening. You all set? I'm all set, I know that. Any questions? Jamie?
I'm good.
Mary?
No, you're very good at this.
Betsy?
No, this is nice to see.
Mike?
No question.
Laurie?
No questions.
Oh,
Thank you,
wow.
Mike.
No questions.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Well, that was like a unanimous second. So Betsy, and I'll take Mike on that. Betsy on the motion, Mike on the second. No other questions from the board? Comments, questions from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Thank you. Wow,
Talk
Mike.
to
Do you
them.
get any credit, do you get any credit for not saying
talk?
anything?
I was gonna try to do it without saying a
paid?
word.
Can you get paid for not saying anything?
You did it, Mike. Man of your word.
Have a nice night, Mike. Okay, next up is an enforcement issue. I think we continue this one, right? Mello was
We did.
continuing to
9/2?
September 2nd, okay?
Yeah.
All right, continued enforcement issues. Priscilla Maya, Edgewater Drive East, map number 32-13-001-000, East Falmouth, Mass, for clearing, digging, altering, filling, and building upon a wetland resource area and a buffer to a resource area defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR .0, 10.00.
More.
Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Conservation Commission received a complaint a few months ago regarding some work being done on one of the private rights-of-ways on Seacoast Shores. We were provided with photographs, some of them are coming down, and basically what happened is that a property owner in the neighborhood went onto the right-of-way and constructed a fairly substantial walkway down to the water and constructed dinghy racks with no permit or correspondence with the Conservation Commission. The board, there is, to let you know, a property dispute on this right-of-way. That's not the board's purview. You're just solely here to look at the impact to the resource area. The staff has been working extremely hard over the course of the last couple of years to work with the Seacoast Shores Association to try to, for lack of a better term, clean up the rights of way, get the dinghies off the marshes and the banks, construct dinghy racks, and that's what you've been seeing. So I think the board should hold a private right-of-way owner to the same standards you're holding the association to. That's only fair. Ross did go out, I did go out and look at it. It is a substantial structure. Ross went out and took a look at it when he was out that way. So the board needs to decide what to do. The structure can be removed, that area replanted, the dinghy racks removed. You could possibly permit the dinghy racks and have the applicant file an after the fact RDA. Unfortunately, those dinghy racks aren't being used because some of those photos show, I believe, 3 or 4 dinghies at the bottom of that right-of-way. Those photographs were taken Friday. So they're not being used, so I'm wondering why they're there. So we contacted the property owner on record, which is the mayor's, as you have listed on your agenda. The 2 abutting property owners are claiming rights to that right-of-way as well. But like I said, that is not the purview of this board. But the mayor did take responsibility. They are the ones that built the structure. They are the one that installed the dinghy racks. And here we are. Okay?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
would you mind?
absolutely, sure. And the wife is here,
Okay, thank you.
and she may want to say something. A little clearer if I hold this, is that better?
Anyway.
Yes, okay. Yeah, we had, about 3 years ago, got a permit to clear the
many
area
years
from
ago?
the street.
How
I'm
many,
sorry, what?
how many years ago?
About 3 years ago, we had a permit from the town, and I believe it was the Conservation Commission, to clear the part of the access to the right-of-way, to the water, from the street to a plat that goes down. And then there was a path on the left, which had been there for 30 years, that had overgrown, and we asked to clear that as well. So that was in place. It may be, too long to keep things clear, but it had overgrown over the years. My We don't live in this area, but we were trying to do what we could to maintain it. We owned a house across the street. My father-in-law and mother-in-law had the property, and they had set it up with a set of stairs on the left on the path. It was our error, and we admit, really, that, we should have gotten new permission to do the stairs. We assumed that clearing the path would expose the stairs, but the contractor built new stairs over it. Our error. But the stairs, they're serviceable. The reason for all of this was because we were trying to follow suit with the Seacoast Shores to help mitigate the erosion. Now, you've probably seen the area, I think went out. And the erosion's down the center, and it's been going on and getting worse, and there's some at the bottom, I believe. So we have to get a way for the people to get in and out without going down that erosion. So we wanted to clear the path. That's what the intent was. The only intent was to be in alignment with what the spirit of this was, to get people to go down without going over that eroding area and make it worse. We misstepped in the first attempt to do this. We have no intention of doing anything that was less than what you guys wanted to do in the first place. So spent some money on it. We didn't really have a lot of money, but we did spend some money on it, hoping that would be helpful. First step, we did not do anything with erosion. We don't know how to do that. We were going to get back to the Conservation Commission and see what it is you do with that kind of thing, because you just don't know. But the stairs were there.
The stairs on the new path were there?
You'll find they're underneath the path. I have a picture for you.
Okay, that would be great.
That would be helpful.
We just took it today.
My other question is the center path.
The center path was not meant to be used.
Well, to me, it looked like there was concrete block that was built into that.
No, what happened was
bank.
that was the edge of it's like it's a flat place that goes to wherever, I don't know how to describe it, but maybe, I don't know, 100 feet or 75 feet, and then it drops off. When it was originally put together by my father-in-law, he put a railing there and a sign saying, "Don't go down here, go on the stairs that I've built," and hoping that people would not go down there, but it wasn't a good place to go down. It wasn't a real safe place to go. But when he died, and no one was there to take care of it, people naturally started going there when the brush started growing over the path.
Fair enough.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, an admin review was granted to the mayors in August of 2010 to keep clear, they requested to keep clear right-of-way 20 with a 20 feet wide, already clear from street, and clear a 5-foot wide path on left side of right-of-way to water. Keep clear this area where former path existed for safety and ease. We don't have any documentation of the staircase being there, but if you have a, if you have a photo, Mr. Mayor.
We have a photo, and we have, we can provide letters from people who have been using it for, 20,
I
30
would
years.
prefer a photo.
Photos up, we got it here.
The photo, and if they have letters, we'll accept them for the file.
Yeah, unfortunately, I left the house in Reading and left my folder there, but we'd be happy to send them along.
That's fine. The other question I have is, I noticed there was a sign stake there from the Seacoast Shores Association.
That is correct.
Saying it was a Seacoast Shores.
Yes.
It kind of got really
It gets a little tricky. That goes back to the neighbor thing. We had put a sign up recently saying that we were the owners and to contact us and please cooperate, take your dinghies off the ground and so forth. But the neighbor ripped it down immediately, so we didn't bother putting another one up. It was,
Okay.
Seacoast Shore had been battling with them on the last 10 years to go back and forth with their signs, and finally put enough of them up, they left that one there for this further in. It's just one of those things that it's annoying for everybody. But many people do use the right of way. People of Seacoast Shores and Falmouth have used it for 30 years, and we'd like to just to leave it open. We don't gain much of it from ourselves. The only thing we owned to get to the water was a used canoe. We only had that the last 2 years. We had nothing before that. My wife and I, we live in Reading. We don't have a lot of access. She just recently acquired a used boat, like 25 years old, not even in the water yet. And we had a mooring for it, but I don't know, we'll get to that some other way. As far as the racks go, again, an error. We took the racks off. They're not there. They're not going back. So no issue. Hopefully that's taken care of. It's all gone.
The racks were the one thing I liked.
We keep making mistakes here, yeah.
These are now on the marsh at the
Right.
end of the day.
Well, we'd be
The
happy.
racks I can permit under an after the fact RBA, I can do
Yeah,
that for you.
I'd love to have a common ground here. I guess the problem for the racks is that I'm not sure if we can ask people on human nature to carry their dinghies all the way down, whatever, if the stairs are remaining, at least that's better than going down the middle and keep the erosion. Say they were to stay there. They would take them down there, bring them back up, put them on top of the racks. But I'm not sure if they'll do that. But, we can try it. But we'll have to ask them. We're not going to do a thing until you guys say it's okay to use the racks. But we moved them. They're not there. They're on the other land that
Well,
we
what
own.
I would like you to do is if you would like to permit your racks, then
Yeah.
you will have to follow the same process that the Seacoast Shores Association is following and file with us, receive that wonderful negative determination you asked about earlier this evening.
I love negative now.
And do it properly. just
Absolutely.
because
No, and we want to make this right,
This
and we need to know
board, I
how
was
to
at
do
the
things
meeting.
and follow that through. Yep, I'm
I
sorry.
was at the meeting last year, Russ was at the meeting last
Yeah,
year.
we saw you.
We're
Yeah, we saw you.
very, we've put a lot of effort into reaching out to the association and trying to get these rights of ways cleaned up to stop things like erosion from happening. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, with all the boats that were lined up along the base of that bank and then the marsh at the end of that right-of-way that were seen on Friday, and we're out there, there's still a problem on that right-of-way. So that's
There
something
is,
that you.
there is,
is
absolutely. And
gonna
it needs,
need
to be addressed in some way, but I don't want to do anything without getting back to the right process here, so we're
Right,
not
and so
doing
you
anything at
understand
this
that
point.
process
Except we're
needs
trying to
to
say, what's to be done at this point to make it right, to be in alignment, to make it better. We hope that what's been done, even though it's a process mistake, might be an improvement.
Also, the abutters who are contesting whether it's theirs or not asked us to remove the dinghies, the racks.
Okay. Like I said, that's a property right issue, and that's not something this board can weigh into.
No, we don't.
We're here to just look at whether or not the staircase can remain, or if we have to have it removed and rebuilt, because I'm not quite sure if it's violating any code issues or anything like that, as well as in dealing with the erosion on the property. I mean, that's a pretty substantial structure you built out there.
Well, hopefully it will not cause any erosion, but help people get down so they won't keep going down the eroded area. That was the
Well,
intent.
that center area, probably if it was planted,
We'd like to know exactly what
would
needs to
stop
be
that
done.
approach, you know what I mean?
Well, what we do is we broke it off and put everything like it was before and say, don't go down here, use the stairs, and then do whatever you think needs to be done so that can recover, and then, address the places that are down further, because I know there's stuff going on there. Kind of at a loss. As far as the neighbors go, yeah, it's a separate issue. They're getting more friendly, and they're trying to work with us a little bit more, and we're trying to do what we can with that.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, because if you could all get together and,
Yeah, I know.
kind of hash it out, that'd be awesome.
We begin to wonder why we bothered with the whole thing, but, so.
Can they work with staff? Can they work with staff to see if, because they have a right to have something down to there. Presumably, if it's your land, I mean, but if
You mean the
if you show us a deed, yeah. I mean, if this, can you go out and see if it's, 'cause some staircases don't have to go through building. I mean, some are just steps.
I can't make that determination. The building department would have to make that determination. If it was just blocks.
Audio has to at least take a look at it. You're
I
probably just going to
can't
say
make
just
that
what you're saying.
determination, Betsy. If the board would like the staircase to remain, or would allow the staircase to remain.
Well, they would have to apply for
let
a
me-
permit to do it.
Yes, the only thing the mayors would be able to do is to file an after-the-fact notice of intent to keep the staircase and to replant the eroding path down
Right,
there.
that's where
But
I'm
what would
going.
have to happen.
That's where I'm going, and
Yeah,
maybe,
and then you'd have to have an engineering plan of the right-of-way, the staircase, and everything like that. And then the building department would have to take a look at it.
right, that's exactly where I'm going.
The rise is not more than 18 inches on each landing, so I don't think it's going to be a problem at all.
Yeah.
as
The
far as
last
the
is,
building
the
department.
building commissioner, I believe, is out next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wouldn't be able to get a Ladio's opinion on this until,
Well, at any rate, they still would have to file a notice of intent.
it would have to be an after-the-fact
Yes,
notice of
so-
intent, correct,
so
with
what-
some mitigation and restoration
Some
requirements.
sort of a plan for that middle.
But if they're not going to approve it as is, he may not want to file until he hasn't approved.
Yeah, and I wouldn't,
Project.
I wouldn't suggest filing until the
Right.
building department took a look at
Yeah.
it and said, yeah, it can remain, or no, it needs to be taken out and redone.
Yeah, so
That's not a
you should keep in contact with Jen.
I'm just hoping my wife's taking notes here.
Keep in contact with Jen and make sure, you need an opinion from the building inspector, but if he would allow the steps as they were, then you would file a notice of intent and the conservation office will help you with all that.
Yeah, and
Basically, I would
we're getting a little bit more used to how to get in touch. We just couldn't seem to do the kind of diligence that we get in touch the way we should. We didn't realize their office hours and all that stuff. We don't live here. So we get the better idea. We'll get in touch with them.
I'll be honest with you, I do have concern at the way they were built. They're
Yeah.
not, in my opinion
Yeah.
only, okay? I don't think they're gonna be that sturdy, and I don't know how they'd hold up in even one storm.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if we could, Jamie probably could, if you get a chance, if you're down that way, just take a look at it yourself.
Yeah.
But you're in that business,
I understood
builder.
it. Yeah,
So,
that'd be good.
Mr.
that's
Chairman,
one of
I-
my concerns,
Oh, good. Yeah,
and
let's take a look at
again,
it. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I would put a date certain on the mayor's getting a determination or getting some sort of documentation from the building department. So what I would suggest, so that this doesn't fall by the wayside, is continuing this hearing until maybe, let's see, hang on one second, Courtney, I see you. Maybe the 2nd of September, just
Do you
to
think
keep it in.
they could get a determination from Eladio that soon?
Well, he's out next week, he's coming back on the 24th, they would have to be in contact with the building department that week. I don't know.
Yeah, we have a
I mean, we could
4-hour.
also talk to one of the inspectors.
yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
could
we have
also
two of the
talk to
inspectors.
one of the building inspectors,
It's
so,
not a zoning
Building
issue,
inspector,
and
okay.
Gary Stubben could probably address that.
yeah,
Right,
I
and it's
would,
not, it's a structural issue more than, it's not a zoning issue.
no, it's not. So I would suggest,
And can
You're gonna-
I would like just to get this on the record too, would it be okay for somebody to enter that property from this commission to take a look at it?
Oh, it's right away, anybody can go on it.
And I know we have to do that. so-
Absolutely, have permission,
Yeah.
anytime you want.
He's in the business and Mike's an engineer, so
Go for it, yeah.
One question that
always
comes,
done landscape construction, so there's a lot of,
Excellent.
one question that comes to mind is, those are, do you know what those landscape timbers are rated for in terms of their,
We didn't build, we give you the name of the contractor. I can give you that on
what's
writing.
that? I'm sorry.
I can give you the name of the contractor, I don't know, what exact materials he used.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if those aren't, I think knowing what those are rated for is essential, because those things can, you can buy what are called landscape timbers,
Yeah.
and they look terrific, and in about 6 years, they rot, and you'd be back in front of us again. But they also are rated, you can get them rated for 40 years of ground contact. So these are all questions that you need to address. There's
Yeah.
usually a sticker on the
Okay.
timber itself, but I'm sure that's
We'll
long
find out
gone.
what they're rated for.
so Mr. Chairman, I would
Yes.
recommend continuing this till December 2nd, so the mayors can contact the building.
September.
September 2nd. The mayors can contact the building department to determine whether or not the staircase is code compliant, for lack of a better term, and that at that point, if it is, they are to file an after-the-fact notice of intent by a date certain, with some mitigation and restoration efforts down the center path. As far as the dinghy racks, they can work with the abutting property owners and determine if they want to add that at that time. If the stairs are not in compliant, again, they would have to file an after-the-fact notice of intent to remove them and build some sort of walkway type structure to reduce the erosion down to the marsh. How does that sound?
sounds good.
Okay,
Could I ask?
I think it's important that if those timbers aren't rated for 40 years contact, they should come out anyway.
Okay, I make a motion to continue this enforcement hearing until September 2nd.
Second.
Betsy? Mike? Any other questions from the board? Any other questions from the board? Hearing none. Any questions from the public?
Want those back?
Yes, sir.
My name's Chris Gallagher, I bought it on the parcel in question on 132. And I can give you a brief history. I know the
Okay, we're
title's
not
not
going
your
to get
issue.
into the
I know
land end of it. This is just
Well, I
impact on the
realize that,
resource area.
But
That's
when
all we're
someone
talking
has to
about.
come file a notice of intent, they have to file it as the owner. So an engineer would have to do a plan, and the engineer would find out who the owner is and would find out it is not the mayor's. But besides that, this is an unconstructed portion of Columbus Road. And what happened is, in 1947, Seacoast Shores plan went to the registry. My lot got deeded out 51, the other one got deeded out in 54, so they owned to the feet of the center of the road. Columbus, west of this, became a town-accepted road, got paved. Edgewater, east, got accepted all the way and got paved. I know that because I did the plans for free for the neighborhood. I had an engineering company at the time with surveyors on staff. In 2003, Phil had called and said, you know, your boat trailer and your driveway's on here and you got to get it off. I own it. So I went down and researched it and said, no, I own to the feet of the center. We went and got a title attorney with the neighbor, and he had the same opinion I did. Mr. Mayor started removing the neighbor's fence, cut down some substantial trees, and the walkway was in the center at that time. You know, you saw the concrete, what was left. So we showed him the paperwork and haven't heard anything. In 12 years, it's been peaceful. People come down there, some from the neighborhood, some not, but they use their boats, and there's really not a problem. Everybody's enjoying the water, and it gives an extra set of eyes on the house, the way I look at it, you know, so everybody's pretty friendly. This year, I came and there was a sign on the tree that said, you know, I own it. The mayor's had put in, you can't use it unless you call me, and we want donations for the right-of-way and to take care of it and this, that, and the other. Then I had, my landscaper was over, and he had told me that there was guys down there with plans to build stairs and build boat racks. So I had told Mr. Mayor, you can't, one, you don't own the property. Two, even if you did, you have to file with conservation to do this, and I haven't got a notice, so either you didn't file properly, because I didn't get notified as an abutter, but you can't do it. Next thing you know, I came down, the stairs were in. And so it's pretty disappointing. And, you know, as neighbors, you'd rather have the guy come talk to you and say, this is what I want to do. But the title issue, I know, is not your issue. I've been in this business 30 years. I clearly own the property. There's no question about it. I have a surveyed registered plan. I have a title attorney. I have a summary from a surveyor. I like to just drop them off. I don't want to go through them, but just put them in as part of the record. And I had told Jennifer before, as well as the other neighbor, to keep me in the loop, to see what happens. And I've asked Phil a few times, why don't you just get a title attorney? I have. Why don't you get a surveyor? I have. And see what answer you get, because I know what answer you're going to get. So if I would encourage an after-the-fact notice of intent, because of this magnitude of the work, and that would flush this out, and then the answer would be clear. And this happened throughout the neighborhood. It was around 1980. This company went and actually did a deed description of it'd be the same as selling somebody a road in front of my house. You know, it'd be the same as me selling your house, and you get on the registry, you can just record a quit claim deed. That deed goes back to the assessors, and the assessors would change the name of the owner in your house. And that's how things work. It's not registered land, it's not land court land, it's quit claim. So anybody can draw a deed to anything, and it automatically goes from the registry. You pay your $76, and it goes back to the assessors. The assessors pull up their map, and they take what was Columbus Road, and all of a sudden it's a parcel of land. And it's not worth the paper it's written on, and I feel bad for the mayors. It was a fraudulent deed, and I sympathize with them and understand why they feel that they've owned it all these years. But I also have to protect my land rights.
Can I ask Jen?
Did you wanted to submit that?
I just had a couple, I'll submit a plan. the,
Mr. Gallagher, you did get our July 15th notice to the mayors about this hearing, correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, you were CC'd on it.
Yeah, actually, I
Sure.
came to it, what was it, July 15th? I
No,
was here-
the letter came out.
Oh,
We
for
sent the letter.
I was here on the 30th at 7 o'clock by myself.
No problem.
I missed it by a day. But it was
Oh, that's
continued
right, you
anyway.
sent us an email and gave us a call.
Yeah,
No, and just to, I understand, Mr. Gallagher has gone through the deed issues with me. Unfortunately,
Thank you, Mr.
as I said, it's not the purview of this board, and what the town has on record is what is on your agenda as a property owner.
And this was all, when I first came in, Jennifer explained that we should go by the assessors, they understood that completely, that you're not in a position to, you know, you're here as a part-time board, you're not here to determine title, you just here to,
Yeah.
you know, protect the, you know, take care
Resource
of what was.
areas.
Care of the resource, that's our concern.
You know, I've been in this business for
We are not
many years.
lawyers.
No. Thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
He should be a
Thank you,
board
Mr.
All right.
Gallagher.
So we have a motion and a second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a
Any
second.
other question?
Any other questions from the public? Yes, sir.
Yes,
You gotta go to the,
I'll speak up.
no, you gotta
No,
go to the.
Mark, you gotta go to
yeah.
the mic, you know
Yep.
that.
Hello.
Come on.
Mark Renee, I'm with Mashpee's Conservation Commission. We've had some issues like this before in our commission, and the owner certainly has to demonstrate ownership of the land in order to set a notice of intent in process. So that'll have to happen here too, of course.
Yeah.
If there's any conflict, quitclaim deeds are sort of almost worthless. At least we found serious issues with them. It takes a little research to figure out who really owns the property, so
We've
that
had
just has
many
to be done.
issues with deeds before.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. So
We'll
we're
see you
going
on
to
the second.
September 2nd. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify, are we supposed to still come back as supposed owners on the second, or
Pardon me?
we're supposed to come back as if we're the supposed owners at this point on the second?
Correct?
Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
Unfortunately, Mr. Mayor, whether you're the owner or not, you
We gotta
did
come
the
back for
work.
the stuff you're
So,
gonna
yeah,
do. Okay.
so the enforcement issue is to you as well.
Separate.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, next up is, same thing, continued enforcement issues. George Patello, trustee, Southview Way, map 28-05-011-103, East Falmouth, Mass., for clearing, digging, altering wetland resource area as defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR 10.00.
Okay, there's some pictures
Yeah,
on there. I'm coming back to get my pictures from the last enforcement. We were contacted by the Marine and Environmental Services Department. Oh, yeah,
I don't know how they were sitting here under
Yeah.
all the copies of the report.
All right, these are marked.
Oh,
Pass
okay.
that down, those are
Gotcha.
from Mark. Right. I think those are from Mark, yeah.
Yeah,
those are
okay.
from
I
Mark.
didn't realize they were staples.
Thank you. I'll take those, have copies coming down for you, Courtney. Actually, you take that.
Okay.
Oh, and what's that?
We're one of these, we're each getting one of these, and one of
This
these,
gentleman is handing
and one of these.
So basically, we got a,
Are there enough for you? Because I can share.
yeah, I have one.
There's plenty.
I got one.
Right.
This from Mark. MES either got a call or was on site, went down to the little common area off of Southview Way and realized that someone had removed a fairly large amount of cattail, native cattail, a wetland plant, and from the pond and wetland area near the beach. We contacted the association. They accepted responsibility, told us they had had a cleanup day, removed all of the wetland vegetation from this area, and did not have a valid permit. here we are.
Okay, Jen, just one question before we start. It says George Patello.
Yeah.
So this is the Southview Way Association?
This is the Southview Way Association has taken responsibility for removing the cattail from the area.
Okay, so it's not George. All
It's
right.
not the property owner, it is the association.
Gotcha. I just want to clarify that.
Yep.
Okay, somebody for the association.
Hello.
Hi. Please just give us your name, please. And
My name is Peter Hargraves. I'm the secretary for the association.
Okay.
And it's the Waterby Estates Association of 34 homes that are off of Old Meeting House by the Midway Trap and Ski Club. And also here, Bob Beardsley, our president, and Paul Legasti, the vice president. Jay O'Connell would be here, except that he was on a business trip. And we hope never to be in this venue for this purpose again. I'm chastened personally by the potential consequences for this mistake that we made just by reading over the enforcement section of the regulations that were cited in the letter that was sent to Gary, or to George Patello as one of the trustees of the Bywater Trust. But we're accepting responsibility for the entire association because we have an active neighborhood group and we collectively work every year to maintain and then to manage the beach. It's a permitted beach in Falmouth, and we have micro work done by the Barnstable Health Department. And before we go any further, I do want to make sure and acknowledge and thank Mark Kaspersick for
Correct.
the kind of help that he's given us, his patient coaching, and, we're very concerned about this and the potential outcome, but I'm happy to have a hearing, and we made a bullet point presentation. We have some pictures. We hosted Mark and discussed this with Mark and Jennifer on one occasion and with Mark on 2 occasions, and I wanted you to have a durable record so that you could deliberate, and we want a sustainable and agreed plan to maintain the bathing beach that we have, which has been there quite some time, and you'll see that from the background. So in our principles, we elected not to hire an attorney because we're not approaching this as an adversarial process. We want to collaborate in getting what we need to manage our beach responsibly. We like to think that we do things right, and we agreed to conservation restrictions on our properties that border Flax Pond, and neighbors are active in all kinds of conservation and environmental activities. In fact, it was working with Chuck Martinson and the Citizen Science Group on tagging herring that originally got us into the pickle that caused us to kind of go to the extreme this year in cleaning it up. So we're not challenging any regulation that we're being cited for, and we readily acknowledge the infraction that we made a mistake. And we have a remediation suggestion, and then also a request for you to consider how we can maintain our beach responsibly. And I guess fearful of the consequences and hearing about even Maura Healy being involved in some of these things that get escalated. We're asking for your forbearance on punitive measures. We had no malicious or financial motive or intent. It was a mistake. We didn't get a permit, and we won't do that again. So if you look to the backgrounds, thanks, Bob. So we have 2 recreational lots in the neighborhood that are common property. Right now, they're owned by Bywater Trust, which is how George Patello and his trust got dragged into this. The neighborhood association, though, enjoys the use and maintains the property and runs the permitted beach. And actually, it's a semi-private beach. We have a Falmouth beach permit, and as I said, we do micro-testing. Actually, the beach was established in 1984 before the neighborhood plan, the neighborhood was established in 1984, and the beach was there before the neighborhood. I've talked to people who are not wash-ashores like me, and Arthur Aldrich said as a kid he walked up the dirt path and went to that beach swimming in Flax Pond. So I don't know where the sand came from. It certainly wasn't a natural event. but we had no luck finding any Conservation Commission files on orders of conditions or covenants in a planning department record that George filed to establish the neighborhood that said, this is a defined beach and here's what you have to do to operate it responsibly in terms of the conservation. But until 1984, there was no development plan and there were no conservation restrictions. So we're not challenging the restrictions, we embrace them, we love it as part of our neighborhood. There are two beach, well, in a minute we'll show you a map that shows the two beach lots, two lots that make up the so-called beach with a 15-strip parcel that captures Flax Creek in between. And these are partially in the conservation area, 100 feet back from the pond. And so over the years, the beach has been narrowed by the spreading water plants, but it really hasn't been that much of an issue until we had the problem of debris accumulation this year. The water plants are now redirecting Flax Creek, so the load of debris is dumped right in the bathing area. And that was exacerbated this year, and I'll explain why in a minute. But Bob has a map, and you can see this more clearly. By the way, has anyone been down there and seen this? Okay, thank you. So Bob.
Yeah, so here's a... So this is just a map showing Southview Way. That's the main street here. This is what we're calling Flax Creek. It runs all the way up to Pond 14 where water runs down. And this is what we call Lot 103A, Lot A, Lot B. And this is a 15-foot zone here, which is what the Patella Trust gave to the town as for the creek. Okay, my understanding. And this is approximately the beaches. This is, of course, is Flax Pond. Okay. So this is just a magnification of that area. Again, here's the beach, where the beach is, and you can see the pond comes down. And up there is right in the center of the culvert that it comes through, and then it comes down and it kind of bends over into here. And this is the area where the plants were that you see. Okay, next. So here's a view looking towards the beach. This is after we did some stuff. We made our mistake. But it kind of tells you this is the width of the lot is 57 all the way from this property line to where basically the edge of the 15-foot buffer is. Okay. And this is where the beach is. Okay. Next.
Okay. So what happened? Basically in 2015, there was a lot of activity on the herring migration, and we worked with Linda Deegan and the Citizen Science Group to tag herring and try to understand how many actually migrate from the river up to Flax Pond, to Flax Creek, to Pond 14, and subsequently up to Coonamessett Pond, and where they spawn. And there's a lot of really interesting data on this if you're interested in herring migration. But as part of that, we worked with Chuck to make a more robust path through that circuit I just described, and that involved cleaning out Flax Creek and raising the water level in Pond 14, which Chuck and his conservation guys did. And unfortunately, we noticed when we went to go down to the beach that as a result of this herring migration adjustment that we made to the waters in collaboration with Chuck, there was about 12 inches of debris deposited right in the bathing area because of the way that it was brought down by Flax Creek. And so we brought Chuck, we had invited Chuck, and he was very collaborative, and it's good to work with him. He was there at our May 30th annual meeting with about 30 neighbors, and he explained the water plants as Phragmites, but I'm going to get Chuck off the hook in a couple of slides on that one. But that's what he said, nevertheless. And he said that if we removed those and redirected the water flow, he would make sure the water channeled the debris away from the beach and out into Flax Pond in the future. And so we thought in our work parties, people who were involved in the work parties on the 14th and the 20th decided that they would go ahead and remove this, in spite of the fact that Chuck also said that we should consult the Conservation Commission and get the permit, which we didn't do, and that's why we're here tonight. Well, we just assumed that assumption that it would be a win-win for the ecology, the herring, and the beach quality to get rid of the Phragmites, which was misidentified. And somehow the word got back to the Botellos and then ultimately to Mark, and Bob and I and Jay, who's not here tonight. Paul is still working. The rest of us are semi-retired. We met with Mark on the beach, and that may be the source. I didn't see the photos that were passed around there, but that may be the source of those. And we described essentially everything that you've heard so far, and he informed us that that was not Phragmites, that was cattail. And so we collected what looked like viable plants, and we isolated them. You'll see some pictures of that. But we were advised not to plant them because Mark didn't know if we would cause more disruption and destruction by trying to go in and do that, rather than just discarding them and starting with some kind of restoration or remediation project. So the extent of the damage, as we've staked it out, you'll see some pictures of this in subsequent slides because we've staked it and put tape around it. There's 250 square feet of cattail that was removed. Not all of it, but a lot of it. But the rhizomes are substantially in place. And I understand more about this after researching cattails and trying to decide how we could remediate the situation we created. There are already several new shoots starting to show, which is not surprising considering what I learned about cattails. And I actually, again, maybe it's another infraction, but I'll admit to it here. I took one of those plants that looked viable and I planted it as an experiment to understand if our proposal to remediate by developing and planting shoots, if that was necessary to restore the area, would be actually a viable solution to the problem. So we're monitoring that and looking at the shoots that are coming up, and there are some photographs of that. And Bob can explain those.
Okay, so this was at the beginning when we had our first.
Microphone.
So I'm going to show you some pictures. Okay, so this was one of the early work parties when we were going down, and here we're actually taking all the muck at here and trying to put it out in the middle of the pond. So you can see what over here where the cattails are. And this is afterwards. I'm looking back the other way. You can see we left some here, but we certainly took out some here. Can you press this? Okay, so this is just another view taken closer up, and it shows the beach, the area over here, and where the stream comes out, and this area here. You see the original, and this is just a close-up of this area here. We salvaged some of them because we thought we might be able to replant them, and we stored them here. And the rest we took over here and put into George Patello's plant. Okay.
Well, we asked George if he could dump them on his farm, and he put a trailer there and reloaded it. So.
Yeah, that was that. And I think to be anyway, this
is the total amount that was removed.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it as a lump.
And so this is where we saved some of the pests that are still alive and put them in here for storage and filled with water. And that's where you took one that was alive.
Right.
So here a couple days ago, we went down and tried our best estimate of where we had removed the cattails. And again, this is where the creek comes out, and this is this area here. This is a close-up of that area.
Oh, go back to the sprouts and the experiment.
Where is it? It's somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, this one is the experimental planting, but all these, there was nothing here. All these other green things that you see coming up are the sprouts that are starting
At least 2 months
from the rhizome.
2 months. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, so I did some investigation and learned a lot about cattails, and this is the essence of what's relevant to this discussion here. I mean, in the scholarly works, not to get too pedantic, it said they're easily confused with Phragmites, so I think that kind of gets Chuck off the hook, since there were no flowers out at this time of year when we were doing this work. There were no punks or flags, which is the easy way to distinguish those two plants. But then I also learned, you guys may know this, I'm sorry, but I feel like I really
No,
need
it's
to get
very
that.
interesting.
Okay.
Keep going.
You know, they grow in dense strands, and they're essentially, the rhizomes are thick stems that are growing in the mud, and the leaves and the blossoms are all that's visible on the surface. And in fact, a lot of the literature is devoted to survival uses for eating all the different parts of the cattail plant. And in fact, it states that harvesting doesn't harm the plants because cattails spread locally through their rhizomes, and the seeds are really actually the vehicle for establishing new colonies and not for dealing with the local area, which is the area we disturbed. I don't think we did a very good job of eliminating the cattails because the sprouts are already coming back 7 weeks later. And they have a beneficial effect on soil and water quality and mitigating pollution and fixing atmospheric nitrogen. And then all the stuff on it is edible, essentially, if you catch it at the right time of year. The shoots, the flowers, the pollen, and you can even make flour from the rhizomes and bake bread. But on the other side, if you read what the farmers have to say, when they're trying to keep trenches clear and such, they say maintaining open areas is difficult once the plant is established, and elimination requires annual attention and multiple diverse treatments, including mowing, flooding, freezing, and using herbicides. So, in other words, it would be extremely low probability that we eliminated that part of the stand of cattails by what we did. I'm not excusing it or saying we don't have to do anything. This is just what I found in researching the subject. I also found that there are two prevalent types of cattails that are hardy throughout North America, and a couple other regional varieties that are southern or western. But concerning to me was that seeds and shoots that you find on the internet are mainly directed at people who want to do landscaping ponds and other ornamental use. Some of them come from Thailand. And my concern, our concern collectively here, since it's our neighborhood, it's our backyard, was introducing a problem while we're trying to fix another one. So this leads to our suggested remediation alternatives, of course, with consultation with somebody in the conservation department, Mark or Jennifer, whomever, we would agree to what restoration is needed and the area that's involved and monitor the progress chronologically with photographs. And the alternative approaches, I really like this one. It's a lot of work, but you know, we could harvest the punks and recover the seeds in the fall, and then a lot of people in Yelp and online say the seeds are junk, you can't grow them, but they're very fussy. You have to have a germination mat and germinate them at high temperature, maintain moisture in the right soil mix with a lot of light, so it's possible to germinate them. Or alternately, we could just buy shoots from a reliable regional supplier to replant some of the area. But in any case, in the spring, at the appropriate time, we could observe the recovery and plant shoots as necessary. So, you know, this is our suggestion. Of course, we're in your hands as far as what the remedy is. But the other action that we'd like to request is that we have an agreement here so it doesn't become an annual event when we rake the muck from the beach out, that we can maintain a clear sandy bottom area and allow Flax Creek to flow in a way that minimizes debris accumulation on the bathing part of our beach. So I guess this photo is incorporated into the slide, so there's nothing more. So thanks for listening. We're not happy about this. it's our backyard, and we love our beach. On the other hand, we all bought homes there with the idea that this was an asset in the neighborhood. We have another recreational area that it doesn't have conservation constraints. It has a playground, it has one tennis court, and those are assets that add value to the neighborhood. And the beach that's totally overgrown is not a value. And it never, and it was there and used as a beach. We just want to maintain it in an acceptable and appropriate way without permitting an annual event. So, if that's possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have one quick question for you. You don't put sand down. You're not replenishing that beach at all, are you?
I'm sorry?
Are you replenishing that beach with sand?
We have dumped, on occasion.
You're giving the cattails a substrate to grow on when
Yeah.
you do that.
Well, we don't. Okay.
Another violation.
No, the sand that we've replenished is on the beach itself. Whatever sand is in the water and such, we haven't raked sand into the water.
Yeah, but even putting it on the beach is putting it within 100 feet. It's putting it in conservation jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And when it rains, it goes in.
So you got us on that one, too.
So I think really what we want is kind of a plan, right?
Yes, let me take a shot at this. Okay.
Perfect.
250 square feet. I'm going to make a recommendation that the association is going to file a notice of intent with the board for two things. One, to restore the area that you altered by monitoring what's there, and then probably, and the board can discuss this, purchasing shoots from probably New England wetland plants, because you want the native cattail, and I'm glad you did your research from cattail and understand it is one of the highest wildlife habitat value plants in this area. And we'll augment the area that you altered with some additional shoots. And then have a monitoring component with that to make sure the area is coming back, and if it's not, then, we'd have to augment it with more shoots. 2, to file a plan with the Concom for annual maintenance of your beach. Because putting sand on your beach, it's washing into the pond, it's giving that cattail a substrate to grow on, it's causing the creek to back up, and it also will allow you some maintenance of your beach without running amok of our regulations. That is going to be the staff's recommendation to this board. You guys can modify it any way you'd like. How does that sound?
How about questions from the board? Let's start with Courtney.
I'm inclined to go along with staff's recommendation on this. I think,
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
yeah, I think it's a reasonable approach. You clearly have done your homework. You realize you screwed up, and I think you've made a good faith effort here to come up with a viable approach to remedy the problem. My inclination, as far as active replanting of that area, from your comments and so on, my feeling is it's going to come back pretty much on its own, and the monitoring, I would say, is like over a period of 2 years before you, at least this is my own opinion, rather than to jump in and start digging around, putting stuff in there, because I've been watching cattails spread right in front of my house, and which was part of a Phragmites removal project, actually, that had crowded the Phragmites, cattails out. Once the Phragmites were removed, the cattails came back, and they come back very rapidly. So I think monitoring is the key here, rather than taking a more proactive approach. Were, after 2 or 3 years, it not to come back, then I think you begin to investigate the alternatives of planting stuff there. But that's my own, I'm speaking for myself on that, and
Next one. Maury?
Just through you, Mr. Chair, to Jen, since the owner of the property is different than the people that did the violation, the Patellos would probably have to be on board, am I correct?
Correct.
That their property is going to be restored as,
Correct.
in collaboration with you?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All set, Maury?
All set?
Okay, Mike?
I have the distinct feeling everybody in this room knows more about plants than I do.
But you know more now than you used to.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Betsy?
Yeah, I agree completely with Jen, except that I think they're probably going to come back. I would rather wait a year, because if you, two things. One is you and I found out when we were on a field trip down in Wood Neck one time, that a lot of those cattails were invasive cattails. And so we want to avoid invasive cattails. You also want to avoid bringing in whatever pests might be in you know, stuff that you buy. I'd rather wait a year or so and see.
Yeah, be careful when you use the word invasive to mean non-native, because that's not necessarily, they don't necessarily
The person who,
mean-
we were on that field trip said
Yes,
they
I
were
understand
invasive.
that, but yeah, because cattail, as well as poison ivy, can be
No,
aggressive.
the person
It can
was,
come back,
the
it's very
person we were on
aggressive.
the field trip was with the DEP
No, I understand. that.
person
No, I
who
understand.
used the term
I know that.
invasive.
I
Maybe they
understand
meant
that, but what I'm
aggressive.
saying is invasive does not necessarily mean non-native.
He
That's what
said
I'm
they were
saying.
non-native.
That's down with next, Betsy, let's focus. So anyway, go on. I'm completely agree that if you want to wait a year.
I'd
and
wait a
see how
year,
it comes
see
back, and
how-
then we can look
right.
at whether or not purchasing and augmenting the shoots is required. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine with me. But I do think that they'll have to file that after the fact notice for
Oh.
this monitoring component and for continued maintenance of the beach. I think it would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would, one, protect the property owner, two, protect the association in going forward in the future, and to give this board a comfort level.
Yep, absolutely.
All set, Betsy?
Yep.
Mary?
Yes, I agree with everything that's been said, and just, you know, oceanfront property owners can't just do what they want with their beach either, so. So anyway, that's fine. I think everything's been covered that needs to be covered.
Jamie?
Are you guys retired sales reps?
What did I do to offend you? I'm an engineer.
And we have retired
Too bad
scientists.
the research wasn't done first. We wouldn't be here.
Well, we are glad that you put in that Chuck suggested that you contact the conservation
Oh, yeah,
department.
he did.
Because kind of the rule of thumb is, if you can see water,
Contact.
you probably should
Yeah,
contact
We
conservation.
understand.
Just
Can
a
I ask a
phone call, that's
clarifying
all it
question
is.
of Jennifer?
Sure.
Will you send what you stated, will we get a letter, or
Correct.
maybe someone will get a letter to that effect, so that we can, we won't rely on
Basically,
your
it will come in under, it will come in under an enforcement issue, but it'll detail out what you need to do
Okay,
to,
thanks.
to comply with that.
It's-
Okay?
And the last question, as far
It'll
as,
look very official and very scary, but
it's
really
okay.
not.
I'm not scared after talking to you guys, thank you. But the last question is, on the last one, as far as coming up with a plan to manage the beach, can Melanie or Mark or somebody give us an idea, a format, or something that's been done?
We
so that-
have beach maintenance plans for the coastal beaches.
Well, maybe I'll take a
Why
look.
don't you, yeah, you can come and talk to us, kind of give us an idea of what you do out there. We
Yeah.
know what's required for coastal beaches. I'm not quite sure what you do by, like, when you say cleaning and clearing the muck from the sandy bottom. I kind of want a little bit more more information on what that is? Do you go in the water with rakes and things like
Yeah.
that? So we need to kind of know what you're doing up there.
And
Methodology.
Okay, because this is Flax Pond, and Flax Pond is subject to natural heritage, which basically natural heritage and endangered species program, because this particular pond has a rare freshwater mussel in it. So all the properties along Flax Pond that come out to permit walkways so they can get their kayaks in the water, those footings or pipes go into the water, natural heritage has to comment on it. So that's something else that you'll need to look into. I'm sure you don't have any tidewater muckets since you've been clearing the muck and everything around there, but just to let you know that natural heritage will get involved as well. Okay?
And it's a great pond also, so
It's a
it
very
makes
nice
it subject
pond.
to... No, I
No,
mean,
a great pond, yeah.
No, it's a great pond.
It's
Yeah.
a
It's a
great
great
pond. That kind of.
And don't, Jen, don't you work with the beach department on Cruise Pond? You might
Yeah, I was
give some
wondering
But that's so
suggestions.
different.
I remember,
That's
That's
a
a
little
public.
different. Cruise Pond doesn't go into the water and start clearing, but they do have some
we do have sand issues, though.
sand issues out there.
So I think you can make an appointment with you and you'll sit down.
What
Okay.
they're gonna do is it necessary?
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
would put a date certain on this,
Okay?
so we will get that out to them. I would put a date certain for filing with us. This is a little different than the last one, so I think it's a little farther along in the process. How about September 30th or mid-October?
Is this a continuance, or we're...
No,
you're-
no,
We're going to
go
vote
ahead.
this, that you're going to
Yes.
put, right,
We'll issue the enforcement order
right now.
requiring, I'll have you sign it next week, but requiring that the association file an after-the-fact notice for monitoring of the area for the next year.
Picking it up if they
To be
need to.
determined whether or not it needs to have additional plantings done in the following 2 years. So it'll be a 3-year monitoring component of the area that was just altered, where the cattail was removed. And then also with that, a kind of beach maintenance plan, annual maintenance plan on what they do to the beach on an annual basis.
What they may do.
And what they may do, and then when that comes in, the board can discuss what activities you can agree with or not.
Yeah, you may want to look at the Cruise Pond or something.
Yeah, we do have one for the town from Bruce Pond, but I don't know if it has too much meat to it on what they do. They don't bring a rake down there or anything.
Maybe we
like
could
that.
also ask Natural Heritage what they would like to see.
And you also need to check with Natural Heritage, but when you file that notice of intent, there is a requirement in there to any property that falls within the Natural Heritage, that they get a copy of it, so they will be in contact with you. So they're going to issue you what's called a no-take letter, or you want them to issue you a no-take letter. Okay? But I'll explain that to you. Once you get this paperwork, you make an appointment to come see myself or Mark, and we'll walk you through that process, okay?
Thank you.
No,
So
it's
September-
The date you're talking about is when you want us to have the plan filed with you.
correct.
Thank you.
September 30th is going to work here, right?
Actually, we normally require paperwork to be in a week before the scheduled hearing, just so we're clear on that,
Also, we come back here with that.
right?
When you have a
Or no?
notice of
Oh, no,
intent,
I'm
we'll
sorry,
come
I'm
back
sorry,
here.
I'm sorry. No, we're not
Mary's
going to
a
be,
bit confused. You're
we're
gonna
not going to
file
be hearing
with
it,
us.
never mind, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're going to file the paperwork with us, and then we're going to schedule a hearing.
So by September 30th.
By September
Okay.
30th to get that notice in there for us.
So-
So that's like a month and a half, that'll work.
So moved,
Second.
As explained by,
as just discussed.
very good.
Jen's going to send a letter.
Being new to this, so what's the purpose of the hearing if we have an agreed plan that we're coached on by the agents, and we come back here for what?
It's the formal hearing for the
Right.
notice
To
of
Like
intent.
we did,
So it's
we had a
just
couple of
pro
notices of
forma.
intent. Well,
This
it's
is
not
an
pro
enforcement
forma.
hearing.
Yes.
You prevented us, now we're going to the notice of intent, which
Okay.
will, the
Right.
plan will be
Because that will be your
visually.
beach maintenance
And that will need an
activities, and that
approval.
will, that will provide you an order of
Yeah.
conditions to go forward
Okay.
with your beach maintenance activities and also to monitor, and it'll also dictate that if the monitoring shows that the cattail area is not coming back, that additional measures will need to be taken. And
Yep.
you'll be permitted to do that at that point.
Well, perfect.
Hang on a second, Susan, what do you need?
Could Betsy repeat her motion? What I said. Betsy, what I said.
My motion is to have Jen send a letter on our behalf saying that by September 30th, they should file a notice of intent. But I think her letter says all kinds of other things that will scare you. But now that you've been here, you won't be so scared.
Right.
And then when you file the notice of intent, Jen will schedule a meeting, and then you get to come back in like the other people here with the notice of intent.
Okay? So we're all set here?
And that'll give you,
Oh, we can do it.
well,
This
no,
is
and then
what we
you'll be
asked for.
comfortable
Thank
the
you
next few
very
years because you'll have this order.
Okay, so we're all set on the board. Any other questions or comments?
The only comment I want to make is I'm glad you came forward and clarified, because a lot of times when people see who the violation was against, they don't understand that when people do illegal things or inappropriate things on somebody else's property, they're the person, the property owner gets written up, so to speak. And that, I'm glad that you clarified
We already
that.
had that hearing.
Yeah.
I wasn't here.
No, you're right. Well,
Okay.
And
Thank
also, your research was great. this was interesting for people to understand.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the public?
I did.
Betsy and Maureen, okay? So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
And just an editorial comment, that this is one of the situations that our role as a board is to educate. And in this case, it's through the mechanism and enforcement thing. But, we're trying to get you to understand what you need to do, and I think you clearly understand that.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
And I think this is a very collaborative thing.
They want to go home, they want to
Yeah, we
go
wanna
and
go.
continue their meeting somewhere else.
I want to go home.
All right, next on
Thank
the
you.
agenda.
Wants to go home.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night,
gentlemen.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Gary.
Thank
I was wondering why George's name was on here.
All right, other business. Appoint a member to the Community Preservation Committee. Jamie looked it over. He's unable to do it at this time, so I think what we're gonna do with this, we're gonna take it to the September 2nd meeting.
Okay.
And everybody kind of give it another consideration. If not, I'll probably do it on an interim basis anyway, for, maybe the next year or so.
And during that time, Mr. Chairman, I will reach out to town council once again and ask them if there's any way, even if it can be changed to allow this board to appoint an outside member on your behalf to attend the meetings and then report to you once a month on the activities within the CPC. It is an important.
'Cause I think it's very important.
Yeah, could I also ask that Jen, at the same time, inquire
If we could
an
split the role.
alternative, which would be that we would have
Two
a
representatives.
member
Split the
from
role.
among us and a backup, an alternate?
Yeah, there are
Um,
multiple committees
if they're-
that the staff sits on that has
Yeah, 'cause
myself
I mean-
and then Mark as my backup, so.
I don't think the problem is lack of interest on this board at all.
It's
It's
commitment.
just, you hate to commit when you know it's gonna
It's a time commitment,
Conflict.
it
not
absolutely
work
is.
out
I
too
will.
often.
I will. All right,
Thank you.
not a problem.
And then we'll just visit that again back in September, so probably in a second. Okay, Betsy, you had something you wanted to bring up on this.
Okay, I just want to bring the board up to date. You've probably heard at some point that we applied for a grant from Massachusetts Environmental Trust, and we were awarded a $60,000 grant. And now we're only like $150,000 away from actually finishing removing Lower Bog Dam and restoring Lower Bog, but we've moved along very well. Seems kind of slow, but we're still working on it. Jen and I had a good meeting with Beth Lambert, who's our Division of Ecological Restoration contact, and they've been putting about $30,000 a year into this project also. And so we each have our tasks for the next month or month and a half. But one of my tasks is, I know you're going to be glad to hear that you're going to see me again at your next selectmen's meeting, because there's an opportunity to apply for a grant with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which will get us another, if we get it, another, it's very competitive, but another potentially $50,000 towards this. And then there's another grant that's coming up in September or the beginning of October with NOAA that would enable us to finish the project and actually move further upriver with restoration. And so I'm just giving you this update, and I'd also like to sort of have your blessing that I just keep moving ahead on this.
As far as I'm concerned, yes, please.
We'll all have a big party at the end.
It's been a long haul.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'm doing, and some of you know, I think most of you have met my high school intern, but I'm also working with Alex in our department and Jack from the 300 committee to develop, and actually Bob Shea, to develop what we're calling the Coonamessett Greenway Heritage Trail. So we're on our website, Bob will produce a link where you check on different parcels along the way, and it'll link you to a map, and then it'll link you to some pictures. And eventually we'll have signage that has natural history story on one side and history stories, land use history stories on the other side. So, just to give you an update.
A lot of work.
Very nice.
And that's why it's so hard to have time for CPC.
Yeah. Mike looks at me and he goes, "What about you?" And I said, "No."
Steam ship, everything else. But I understand, no, I appreciate everybody really giving
No,
it
and
some
I'll
thought.
send
And
that.
we'll come up with something, but I feel it's really important.
It is a very important board, it's just a very large time commitment with the workload this board already has. And your staff is sympathetic to that. Mr. Chairman, before you vote order of conditions, I just want to let the board know that I told Dr. Payne that you wanted an update on your beetles.
I did.
So, no, Dick and I will get together, we'll pick a time
Not
frame
tonight.
and a little presentation that you can have about the beetles. Okay?
Nice.
All right,
Nice.
so, there's not much to say?
Can you
Okay.
keep it to 5 minutes or less?
As in like 3 minutes or less, Dick.
Okay, all right, I'll go on with that.
No, we're breaking up.
No, it's other business.
I did carry out several beetle projects a few years ago. I don't even remember when the last one was, but it got very difficult to find the funds to buy the beetles. And so that got to be a sticking point. It just got to be too much hard work to try to find the funds, so
I guess
went out of
a
the
big
beetle
question,
business.
are they still out there?
In the Trunk River Marsh, I'm quite sure they are. There's some purple loosestrife right along the road.
Right along the beach path, bike path.
Is there some over there too?
There's lots right along
Yeah,
the bike
there is.
path.
Okay, it was proceeding out into the marsh. We started putting beetles in, but
Yeah.
I haven't checked.
Okay.
I mean, I worked with you on that
Yeah.
project,
Yeah.
and the area where we had them, it's beautiful with purple like loosestrife. I mean,
Okay,
there's a lot there,
okay. I guess they didn't make it through one of the winters.
yeah.
They might not have.
That's what I was wondering, if they died. 'cause
Yeah, they could have possibly died.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Good when you're on
Thank
there,
you.
go check it out.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Shoot me an email, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's go on to vote orders and conditions. 137 Silver Beach Avenue. That was was that that?
My notes are downstairs and these
rectangular lot?
guys, what?
That was
Yeah,
that rectangular lot that went back, and I
yeah,
think we were concerned,
is everyone on the next two. My notes on this one are downstairs. but
I
don't-
want a tree.
Yeah, Betsy wants a tree, and you, Jen, asked for the BBD data sheets.
yes.
BBW.
BBW.
BBW data sheets.
And actually, was this Jeff? Was this Jeff's project?
Jeff Jeff
Ryder?
Ryder?
Right?
No.
No,
Whose
this is
project?
Tom. No,
Tom.
it is Jeff.
It is.
Yeah, but Tom, it was Tom.
Tom presented
Tom
it?
presented it.
Tom did?
And you want one
I
tree,
think so, yeah.
anywhere on the lot, I
think Jeff
remember
did.
this, you
He's
don't
in
have
the
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, it
anywhere, I thought it was Jeff.
Michael, look
It was-
very confused.
It was Jeff.
I'm
It's
getting
in the
my head
minutes.
into
Yeah,
it.
'cause the owner was here and he
I'm
agreed
gonna
to
go
it.
where I understand where I am.
Yeah, but I also want to point out,
The
because
swimming pool was
Holmes and McGrath,
the other one.
on their project today, remember, there's a part of our 1018
Yeah,
that
that says
says
that
you have to put a tree in?
for every 1,000 square feet, so 0 to 1,000, one tree.
It's one tree, right,
1,000 to
2,000
2,000.
is two trees.
right.
Yes. No, I get the tree, and then the guy said, can you put it anywhere? He didn't want it in the middle of his lot, and you said, no, put it
Put it
over by
any-
the, all coming back to me now.
I think you said you can put it anywhere.
Anywhere.
I said you can put it
Anywhere
anywhere
within
outside
the-
of where there's
Yeah.
already a little bush vegetation.
Yep, okay.
You can put it near there.
All right, anything else?
I move that we,
Ex-
sorry,
No, go on.
I move that we approve this as discussed.
Second.
Courtney, do you have something to say?
Yeah, just, the location of the trees, once they determine it, should be
On a plan.
approved by us, not just planted,
Or by staff?
yeah.
You want it
Staff.
approved by staff, Courtney, or do you want me to call them back in to?
No, approved by staff. I just want them,
No, I know, Courtney, I'm just teasing.
I don't want them to just put them in.
Yep, I got it.
All right, any other questions from the board? Any other questions from the public? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. 271, 333, 341, and 345 Shorewood Drive.
It's a Phragmites removal project, not cattail, Phragmites.
Yeah. Give lunch break.
And it basically, we're gonna put the same conditions that we put on all the other Phragmites projects that Politan's doing this one, right? Correct? That Chris Politan and Politan Ecological, Politan, right?
Yeah.
Services.
Politan Ecological Services does. He's done multiple projects within the town of Falmouth. You know, we have wind conditions, everything like that, that are written into these when it can
That
spray
are all
or
done,
anything.
right.
Yeah.
I'll just take the template off of that, probably the one, what was the one out in the West Falmouth? Betsy?
West Falmouth?
Yeah.
The marsh of
SIP was it?
Mary, I know it's what I'm talking about. Take those conditions and the other typical ones and incorporate them into this one. And that will be time of year that they can apply, cut, certain spray during
Mono.
wind, monitoring, spraying during certain wind conditions, things like that.
Courtney?
Yeah, I think, Maury, didn't you want some kind of a
A fact sheet.
statement about
Yeah,
the,
just a fact sheet in the file
Fact sheet
for
on the,
rodeo.
And butter
And the-
And a
notification.
butter notification.
and a butter notification of when they're spraying.
Yes.
And a fact sheet on the surfactant too, since we were told that that was
That's
more of a
actually the
problem.
wetting agent's the biggest
Yeah.
issue.
Well, actually, the rodeo,
You can't speak. Sorry.
wow.
It's true. Mary's
No problem.
didn't hear a thing.
Notification.
Left my hearing at window.
That's fine, and then a fact sheet on the wedding aid, that's fine, I'll just write it in. Dick, talk to me afterwards. Notification on spread, okay, sounds good.
I
That's
move
all
that
I had in my
we,
notes.
I move that we approve as discussed.
Second.
Betsy, Mike? Call for the vote. Any other questions from the board here? We're good? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Unanimous, so moved.
I move.
Adjourn?
Second?
Oh, I third.
Betsy.
So
Courtney seconded.
Mary
Oh, I'll
Courtney.
be here
Mary
tomorrow.
Courtney.
Mary
I'm
Courtney.
doing the road race.
Motion
I'm
to
doing
adjourn.
Track
All those in
Club
favor
Days
say
from
aye.
5 to 7.
Opposed, no.
The X Factor.
Meeting's
I'll
adjourned.
see you there.